Birds are some of the most watchable of all wildlife. Because they can fly, it's easy for them to get in and out of our backyards. A lot of gardeners I know really enjoy birds in the landscape. They give us their songs, it's interesting to watch their habits out in the lawn, and also their colors are very nice to have out in the garden. Well, when we feed birds, it's important that we have our feeders up throughout the season, but in the wintertime, when there aren't as many insects around, there's not as many food sources available, the birds really appreciate having those extra sources of food in our gardens and landscape. Now, when we hang bird feeders, it's important to put them where the birds can feed and not be endangered by cats. So it's important that they're at least 4 feet off the ground. That will ensure that the cats can't jump and attack the birds while they are feeding. It's also a good idea to locate the feeders about 10 to 12 feet away from any really shrubby bushes or other plants like that, so the cats can't hide in those areas and sneak up on the birds as well. Now, a lot of gardeners like to look out the window and watch the birds at the bird feeder, so we can put them near the windows, but don't put them so close to your window that the birds may fly into the windows and hurt themselves. It's a good idea to hang them in trees, or anyway near trees in the landscape. So we've got a bird feeder right here in this little redbud. A great place to enjoy the birds in our garden. Well, the 3 most useful types of bird seed are the black oil sunflower seeds, really good bird seed. Another really good one is the thistle seed, like we've got right here. You can see it's a lot smaller, a lot finer. Again, a dark black bird seed. And the white millet is also another really good source, or a good type of bird seed for the birds. Now, when you put your feeder up, I know a lot of times the feed will spill out and it'll be on the ground, and sometimes we get a lot of those seeds sprouting and we get some weeds from our bird seed. So it's a good idea to have a good layer of mulch underneath your bird feeders. And about a 6-inch layer of bark or wood chips or pine needles or something like that is a good idea. But you will have to replace it from time to time, because if you've ever looked out and watched the birds feeding, sometimes you know that there are a lot more birds on the ground eating the spilled seed than there are on the feeder itself. So you may have to come back and replace that mulch from time to time. Well, this is a really nice bird feeder. It's got 2 tiers here, so we can put the feed inside, and the level up top will accommodate a number of birds feeding in this little trough, and also on this one down here below. Right down here we've got another type of bird feeder, and this one again allows the birds to kind of perch here and feed down inside this little area. But this bird feeder has a place where we can add some soot, and I've got an example of soot right here. We can lift this and slide the soot into this little cage on the end. And soot, of course, is an animal fat type product. You can see there it's kind of a cake, or just a conglomeration of seeds and different things for the birds to eat. This gives the birds a lot of energy. Now, it's not a good idea to have the soot out in the warm part of the year, because it will turn rancid out in the warm weather. So the winter time is a great time to put the soot out for the birds. Right back here we've got a thistle bird feeder, and this is a good way to dispense the thistle seed, because it's a little bit more expensive, and you don't want to just set it out in a plate or platform feeder, because you could waste a lot of it. But if you look inside there, you can see those tiny little holes where the smaller birds can get inside there and they can get the thistle out of this feeder. This thistle feeder is also squirrel proof. You can see the cage around it here. This keeps the squirrels away from the seed inside, and the smaller birds can get through those openings and get in there and get to that thistle seed. And you can see the little chew marks, the little bite marks on the plastic covered wire here where those squirrels have tried to chew their way through there and they've ended up frustrated. So that's what we want. Right back here we've got another example of a squirrel-proof bird feeder. This one will take general sized or larger sized bird seed. You can see the openings there, but again, just for those smaller birds to fit through those openings and keep the squirrels out. And again, we've got those bite marks where those squirrels have tried to get through to the bird seed. Right up here we've got another interesting bird feeder that is squirrel proof. Don't have any seed in here right now, but the seed of course goes in this dome up at the top here, and the birds come and they light on these little perches down here, and these openings are where the seed is dispensed. But the light birds don't weigh very much. They can land there and feed. The heavy squirrels come up, they land on these little perches, and look what happens. Just closes it off and the squirrels get frustrated. And again, the birds don't weigh enough to do that, but the heavy squirrels can't get to the seed. Well, now I'd like to show you a simple bird feeder you can make on your own using pine cones. Making a pine cone bird feeder is a great project, and it's a lot of fun for children to do, maybe on a cold winter's day. But all you need are some pine cones. Some fairly large ones are a good idea. Some string or yarn, some peanut butter, something to spread it with, some bird seed of course, and some alternative sources for the bird feeder, some bread, some raisins, and some peanuts, and a place that you can work where you don't mind making a little bit of a mess. Well, the first thing we do is to attach the string to the pine cone. We're going to coat this with peanut butter, so it's a good idea to get that string on there so it's not as messy when you're trying to tie it. But just tie it around the tip of the pine cone there, get several feet so you can hang it in a tree or somewhere to watch the birds feed on your homemade bird feeder. The next thing we're going to do is to take some peanut butter here, and this is the crunchy peanut butter with some of the peanut pieces, and we're just going to spread that. And this is a lot of fun, good messy job. Just take the knife or spoon or whatever and just kind of work it into those pine cone scales. Work it down in there, and those birds will have a good time digging that out. But I'm going to use my plate there to set that down. Get another big dab of peanut butter here. Now, another thing you could do with your peanut butter is to mix in some cornmeal, and it makes the peanut butter not quite as sticky, and it gives the birds a little bit more nutrition. And if we were to do that, we would put our peanut butter in a cup and just kind of mix that cornmeal in with the peanut butter until it's mixed in really well. But again, just coating this pine cone with the peanut butter is the idea there. And once it's completely coated, we've got the peanut butter all the way around the pine cone. We'll bring it over here to our dish of bird seed, and we've got all types of bird seed in here. We've got some of the black oil sunflower seeds, we've got other sunflower seeds, some white millet, cracked corn, and some thistle seed in there as well. And then this is really easy. You just take and you roll it somewhat firmly, try to force those seeds into that peanut butter where they will stick really well. And you can kind of see the finished product right there. Got lots of bird seed stuck in that peanut butter, lots of nice nutritional things for the birds. And we just take this out and hang it and just wait, and the birds will be there in no time. Well, with this other pine cone, we're going to try another method. So I get the peanut butter off my fingers here. We've got the piece of bread here, and I soaked this. I wet it a little bit to make the bread soggy, and we're just going to take these pieces of bread and kind of roll them up and then just stuff those down inside those pine cone scales. And this will also be a treat for the birds to get out there and pick those pieces of bread out of the pine cone. But you can see this is pretty easy. Just kind of work it down in there. And some of the pine cones have a little bit of a barb on them, but it's not too sharp. It doesn't hurt that much unless you just grab it real hard and rake your fingers across it. But not generally a problem, but just work that bread down inside there. Also, we've got these big plump raisins. We're going to take those and also stick those down inside there and just make this fun for the children to put together, and also makes it fun for the birds out in the landscape to pluck those out and find those tasty treats inside a natural pine cone. The peanuts, the same way. These aren't going to stick as easily as raisins or breadcrumbs, but they can be worked down in there as well. And those scales will hold the peanuts in place, so we can put those in there and have just a different type of bird feeder. But just keep working with the breadcrumbs, the peanuts, and the raisins, and again, you can have a really nice homemade bird feeder. Now, if you don't want to go through all the work of putting one of these together, one thing you could do would be to buy something like this. These are pretty cheap. You can get them at a lot of garden centers. It's a pre-made bird seed and fruit and nut kind of bell that you can hang up out in the landscape. But again, I think it's a lot more fun to do it yourself, and a great project to make your own homemade bird feeder.